Welcome back to another episode of the Todd Durkin Impact Show. And yep, you know who it is. This is Todd Durkin, and I am fired up today. You're going to be in for a great episode. And yeah, happy January. We're in January. It's cold in lots of places right now. And if you're in a cold weather state, it's winter time, snow, ice, freezing rain. I remember Tony Robbins said this. I was at a live workshop. Imagine that. It was 2018, 2019. I'm at this workshop with Tony, and he said, you must be prepared for winter. Must be prepared for winter. And what did he mean by that? It wasn't necessarily winter as in like cold winter, but in a time where it's it's cold, it's dry, it's impoverished, whatever. Like you got to endure. You got to endure tough times. And right now, I want to just make sure I speak some life into a few of you who may need a little inspiration, a little motivation today, that you gotta endure through the challenges, through the diagnoses, through the sicknesses, through shutdowns, through crazy times, through homeschooling, through no seasons, lack of seasons, delayed seasons, weird seasons, crazy people. Are there any crazy people out there? Can I get an amen on that? Any crazy people out there? I know you aren't crazy. You're a little cray-cray. You're a mind-right maniac, but you know what I'm talking about. People are a little cray-cray out there. You know, you gotta endure. Right now, my friends, in January 2021, I'm going to make sure that I plead today that this podcast episode today is to help you endure, to get you through the winter season, to get you through the tough times, to make sure that you know that you're built for times like this. We talk about built for times like winter right now, that I know that you're physically, mentally, spiritually as strong as you need to be to get through right now. Matter of fact, today's guest is going to remind us of that. As a matter of fact, I've known him for a long time, all the way back since 2012, when I met Travis Barnes at a fitness conference, Perform Better, Providence, Rhode Island. I still remember it. It was after an epic workout, and this guy in a black and red Journey Fitness shirt comes up to me, and you talk about a special story. Check this out. Before Travis Barnes became a best-selling author, an international presenter, founder and franchiser of Journey Fitness 333, he spent a decade of his life in prison. Upon returning home to his wife and daughter, he worked hard to buy them a home of their own, only to have it flooded to the second floor. Travis Barnes began his fitness franchise while on an unemployment check and living in a FEMA trailer. Simply put, Travis Barnes is an overcomer, and it's his passion to help others overcome adversity and live their dreams now that makes him a man of impact. Folks, I've had the opportunity, the pleasure to coach Travis in my Power of 10 Mastermind Group. It's my highest level Mastermind Group. And he is an incredible contributor to that. And he speaks on stages all across the world, literally. And he's an author. He's a keynote speaker. And he's someone who is extremely special. When I say live a life worth telling a story about, what's your story? I believe that if you're listening to this podcast right now, that you indeed have a life worth telling a story about and have a special story as well. But today's featured guest is none other than my good friend, Mr. Travis Barnes. Folks, I have the man on the line, Travis Barnes. Welcome to the Impact Show, brother.
Wow, excited to be here, TD. Thanks for having me.
Man, it is great to have you. And I was just sharing your story. And we talk about live a life worth telling a story about Travis Barnes. You are epitomizing that. You are doing so awesome. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. You talk about impact, brother. You are spreading some massive global impact right now.
Well, thank you, TD. Thank you. I wear your shirt proudly. I love it. It's my favorite shirts. Live a life worth telling the story about, man.
So, guys, Travis starts his Journey 333 year 2013. It was Easter weekend. So he's now 8 years old. And then I think it was Providence, Rhode Island, 13, 14, when I met you and the crew when I was teaching at Perform Better.
Actually,
what year was that?
I was still working for another company. This was the company
2012.
Yeah, it was like 2011, actually. 2011, I met you in Rhode Rhode Island. Yeah. So
Man, I was just starting out my teaching career. And so check this out. 2019, Travis franchises Journey 333. So a year before the pandemic starts, Travis and his beautiful wife, Cindy, start franchising Journey 333. And there are 5 locations now. And as mentioned, guys, Travis is an author. He's a keynote speaker. He's a podcaster. I've been coaching him in my Power of 10 Mastermind Group now for over 5 years. And you talk about living a life. We're telling a story about what Travis has overcome, what he's endured is truly remarkable. And I'm not sure exactly who right now is listening to this, because right now I can see some of y'all out, pounding the pavement. You're out for your runs and your walks. You got the dogs out. Some of you are working out right now. But Travis, thank you for being here today. And I'm so excited for people to hear your amazing story.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor. And I hope that somebody listening today is looking for a little inspiration on overcoming adversity, because I got plenty of that to share.
Well, I'm going to dive right in. I'm not even going to pull any punches here. You were incarcerated for what, a decade?
Yeah. It was almost 10 years of my life. Yeah,
10 years of your life. And what was that for?
So it was a nonviolent drug offense. I actually wound up having an addiction to meth. It's funny how things can sometimes have an interesting twist. I went to the Gold's Gym in Las Vegas, Nevada in 1996 for my first fitness job. I'd met some folks that they looked good on the outside, but they were definitely messing with some chemistry on the inside. Just took me down this downward spiral of diuretics and all kinds of different drugs that eventually led me to meth. And man, meth.
How old were you?
When I first got introduced, when I first tried drugs for the first time, I was 19 at the Gold's Gym. And then that addiction went on for several years until, I wound up, 10 years in prison. 10 years in prison is eventually where it led me, which, by the way, I do like to call that now a gated community, because when I'm meeting all these professional people in our world,
you know what's amazing to me now is, after 10 years of incarceration, you got out in what year did you get out of prison?
I came home in 2010. 2010.
So you've been out 11 years. The amount of people who you have touched positively since then, I believe, is because of that change of perspective of time that happened in the gated community, because of your perspective shifted. And even now, when I visited your locations in New York, I know you have one in Florida now as well. When I see you work with young boys and girls, especially those who have been impacted by drugs, or parents have come to you, kids are using meth, and this is a real problem that we have in our culture today. Sometimes I think it was a calling by God to anoint you as one of the people of man, you got to fight this. There's another pandemic going on, right? With all of this, the opioid epidemic and all that's happening. So in some ways, I think God is using you in a way bigger way today than he ever would have if you hadn't gone through all that you had gone through.
TD, my pastor, Scott Lowmaster, said to me one time, he said, you don't go through anything significant unless it's to be of benefit to someone else. And I get that now. I get that more than ever. I can almost imagine myself talking to God before coming to this earth and saying, God, I think I really want to help save some people from addiction. I want to really help them through these times. Like, whoa, great. Then you're going to have it yourself and go to prison for 10 years, because when I look at the times in my life where I've been uniquely qualified to help other people, it usually has to do with overcoming some sort of adversity prior myself, so I agree 100%.
Well, today's show is not necessarily just about prison, because the last several years I have seen Travis wow stages, whether it be at one of my mentorships, Idea, Perform Better, you name it. He has wowed stages, not only in the fitness arena, but also in his motivational keynote speaking as well. But I do want to step back before we go to that place, what you're doing now to create such massive impact. Step back to your backstory before prison. How did it all lead up to, the situation where you moved to Las Vegas and all this stuff goes down? Take me back and share, if you could, the short version.
Yeah, TD, my life's been pretty adverse, so if any of the listeners ever want to catch up to me about that, started with a broken home. I was growing up in a broken home, and, definitely a tough time between.
Where was that? Where did you grow up?
It's actually on the Pennsylvania-New York State border is where we were, and small town, but my parents were definitely, always feuding, and
Hmm.
It was kind of violent at times between the two of them, and it was definitely violent between my father and my brother and I growing up. So I was always looking for these male role models, and
Hmm.
I think that's why I started reading things like Muscle and Fitness. I was actually studying for the ACE personal trainer test before I graduated because I learned while I was in school and going through that kind of adversity that being fit on the outside made me feel better on the inside. So I already knew that that was like a therapy that I wanted to share with people. What I didn't know is that I'd end up at the Gold's Gym and taking that wayward journey. But as I think about life and then coming home after almost a decade of incarceration,
Hmm.
everything that we go through, it's meant to introduce us to ourselves and take us to this next place. I came home from a decade of incarceration wondering, will anybody hire me? Right? That's every felon's first thought is like, will I even be able to take care of my family? Will somebody give me a job? And I was fortunate enough to get a job as a trainer. And I worked my way up from manager to chief operations officer. And that's when you and I met. You and I met in 2011. I was working for another company and I was opening up multiple locations for them. I became their chief operations officer. And there came a point in time where the owner of that company, I guess there was just some things that he had a vision where he was going to do it without me. Let's just put it that way. I
Hmm.
won't speak badly of anybody, but he
Sure.
had a vision where he was going to do it without me. And at this point in time, TD, you want to talk about adversity. About a year prior to his decision, our home had been flooded to the second floor. We were living in a FEMA trailer. And now this is like a few days after Thanksgiving that the owner of this company decides that he's going to let me go. And so, have you ever seen that movie, Jerry Maguire?
Of course.
Okay, everybody's seen Jerry Maguire, right? Tom Cruise, right? Like I was kind of like that. Like he even brought a bodyguard with him to let me go because he's like, this guy's gonna freak out, right? I'm working 100 hours a week for him, so he probably thought this guy's gonna lose his mind. What would he do without this job? So he goes in and he lets me go, and I was shocked. And so Cindy, my wife, who I'd convinced to start working at this gym, is in another room teaching a training session. And so why this reminds me of Jerry Maguire is because she was like my Dorothy Boyd, right? Because everybody's like, oh my God, he's letting Travis go. What's Travis gonna do, right? And how Tom Cruise is walking out in that movie is kind of like, I know y'all think I'm gonna freak out right now, and I'm sure that's what everybody thought of me. And it was a sad time because I'd given so much to that location and so much to the people that worked there,
Hmm.
and I did feel pretty lonely at that moment, but not for long because Cindy took that whistle off from around her neck and said, if he's fired, I'm leaving too. And so began two people around Christmas time. Now
Hmm.
this is around Christmas time, and it's 2012, right around Christmas time of 2012. And so we start working as traveling trainers, like, I mean, what else are we going to do? We're on unemployment. We're trying to supplement the unemployment. We're working as traveling trainers. And it was crazy. It was a crazy time. We
So wait,
had,
you're on unemployment and your house floods
right. Yeah. We're in a,
while on unemployment and you have no, oh, goodness gracious.
here's the perfect scenario to start a business. I mean, I'm checking all the boxes that you should not
Don't
start
do
a business, right? If you're in a FEMA trailer, if you're on an unemployment check, why not start a business, right? But
Hmm.
that's where we were, passionate about fitness, and I did have these other opportunities. Let's talk about the spirit. I know that
Hmm.
you're all about that, TD, and that's why you're my mentor. We connect on that level. So I had people, the gas company was booming in Pennsylvania. I had people that said, I could get you a job for like several $1,000s a week, if you wanted to come to the gas company, like just different people offering you things, but that it's going to be spiritual suicide if you take them up on those offers. So I convinced Cindy that what we really need to do is just be traveling trainers. And then we get an opportunity to move into like this 1,300 square foot place and start Journey Fitness. And so we start Journey Fitness in 1,300 square feet. Now, 1,300 square feet, probably some of the listeners that might have apartments bigger than that. Like I remember original tours, like we'd have somebody walk in the place. Now, think about that. Tours of gyms, maybe 4,000. Yours is like 8,000 square feet. So that's a pretty big tour. 1,300 square feet. You got to walk slow. Over here is our stability ball and
Right.
there's our kettlebell, like that was how we started. And
Hmm.
man, because of our focus on customers, we love our customers. We are You know, if you put your customer first, you'll have profits. If you focus on profits, you'll lose your customers. We've just always been very customer focused. So we were punching a hole in the wall within a few months because the neighboring place was moving out, and we were telling the landlord that we were busting at the seams, and we quickly grew to 5 locations in 4 years. That was prior to deciding to franchise. We actually had a couple people suggest to us that we should franchise, and we said no a couple of times, and then finally we said, yeah, let's do it.
Take me back before you franchised, 2011, when you're at the Perform Better show, when we met. Take me back to that time.
Yeah, that was awesome. TD, I think that, you know, we're meant to meet people. You know, our journey is meant to have certain people come into our journey at certain times. And that's why I knew in 2013 that when we had our own business, I said, I'm going to reach out to Todd Durkin. Because when I saw you at Perform Better was like, it was like Disneyland to me, because there were so many people that I've just been reading articles by and appreciating the education that they're providing to our industry. And I was getting to meet them that weekend. But when I saw you, TD, I said, that guy's doing something that I want to do someday. You know, I said, that guy, the way that Larry Individual, he said later on, years later, he said, the greatness that we see in others is the greatness that we see in ourselves. I was so inspired by you and so connected with you, you know, soul to soul. I'm like, that guy is like a kindred spirit. I want to know him better. I want to do the things that he's doing. And so, you know, 2011 was a spark for me. And now, you know, having spoken for Idea, Perform Better recently, Filex, Ursa, traveled over to Portugal. And that in 2011, there was no speaking going on for Travis Barnes in the fitness industry, you know, so.
I still remember that, because the reason why is when you're a presenter, you're a speaker, and y'all who have spoken in any industry know this, is you meet a lot of people after your talks. And I remember vividly you, because your passion oozed out of your eyes, literally out of your eyes, how excited you were to be there that day, to introduce Cindy to me. And I could just feel your enthusiasm. I'm like, okay, this guy's going to be special. And I didn't know your story then. And it wasn't until you really, if you remember correctly, pleaded with me to read your book. Because your book, and I had not read it, and you kept asking me to read your book. And finally in San Francisco at a P10 retreat, you're like, TD, did you read the book yet? I'm like, no, I'll read it tonight. So I by page 26, I'm in tears reading your story and about what you've overcome. And Travis, man, it's amazing to see what you've done.
You know, that's such an important lesson in itself for listeners. You know, I mentioned all kinds of adversities that I've dealt with, but one is carrying around a scarlet letter, right? Where you feel like there's something about you that people that are close to you, maybe they shouldn't know, because then maybe they wouldn't want to be your friend, or maybe they wouldn't want to do business with you, or maybe they wouldn't want to have you in the P10, right? So I started writing down my story, but I had already gotten into your P10, you know, like I said, hey, if I'm starting my business, TD's going to be my mentor, and he's going to be my man to guide me. And then I knew, you know, I had such a heart-to-heart connection with you. And I don't know why I doubted it. You know, we can all be insecure at times, but I'm like, if he finds out that he's got this felon that did 10 years in prison, is he going to let me stay in this P10? And TD, I'll never forget the next morning, your response. You met me at breakfast and you gave me a hug, and it seemed like you had even more appreciation for me than you did before. And I actually felt so vulnerable prior to that I was like, oh man, is this gonna change everything for me? Because I was just so happy to be in your group. There's so many great people in that group and so many great people in that mastermind. And I just really wanted to believe that I could have a good place like that in this world. And I was really worried about losing it. And I guess I just want to encourage anybody that's listening to that story right now, that you said to me, you gave me some great advice when I published that book. And when I published Journey Fitness, I told you I was worried. I said, TD, I got people that are correctional officers coming to my gym. I got cops and, you know, just people that, you know, I could lose all my members. And you said, if you lose anybody, those are the people that you're meant to lose. You want me to just kind of let my authentic story, my authentic self, all of me be a filter for whoever wants to be around me, you know, just kind of share who you are. And I really appreciate that, because the truth be known, the truth be told, it actually just brought me closer to people, because everybody struggles with something. I had people that were officers of the law just shake my hand with appreciation. And boy, was I blown away by that, because I thought they'd be coming in to cancel their membership. But
Well, it's amazing to hear you be so confident in how you share that now. Because folks, as you're listening in, Travis was not confident then. He had his tail between his legs, because I believe this: everyone's got something. Everyone's got something, right? Everyone's got something that like you're embarrassed or shy to share with your employer, your friends, colleagues, teammates, whatever it may be. And what I've always believed in is if you can get so vulnerable to share those things, you typically, the things that you are scared of are the things you have to run at. And what I shared, because you were so fearful of sharing with your community, I said is share it, because it's going to actually deepen your community. And you had a big event that night and you were scared to share it. And I kept texting you about, making sure that you were confident to share it. And it actually deepened your community so much, because all of a sudden now everyone knows someone who is either on drugs or has been on drugs or has been in jail or has had some kind of a crisis or has faced an opioid epidemic, whatever it is. Everyone knows something with something, right? So, man.
Yeah, everybody struggles in some way. And what I found is that people were more willing to open up to me about their struggles. There was a time in my life where actually there was an officer who came to our gym, and his wife, also was a very upstanding member of the community. And they had a son with issues, and I was able to act as a mentor in his life. And that was a real special time for me, but that never would have happened had I not shared my story. So it's amazing. You see, our pain, in my belief, our pain is the best part of who we are, right? Like, we're meant to have these struggles, but then we have to be willing to share those struggles if they're ever going to help anyone else, So that was just a great encouragement that you gave me to write Journey.
Yeah. We all hate to go through the struggle, but when we look back, it was the struggle that actually made us who we are. So
Yeah.
many of us, when you look back in your own childhood or tough times in your life, because everyone's had them who's listening in, it's those times when you persevered, you endured through challenging, tough times that make you the man or the woman that you are. How about you, Travis? These adversities, how have they changed you to be the man, the husband, the father that you are today?
Well, I would say that every adversity, every obstacle introduces a person to him or herself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole idea of the journey, right? I did go to prison and rediscover my passion for fitness. Now that we've been going through this pandemic that we've all been going through, it's like it brought me closer to who I was who I am as a person, my authentic self. So I would say that, it's a funny thing about this. When I think there's a famous quote that goes something like that: when someone was asked what helped them to overcome the obstacles of life, they said the other obstacles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
it strengthens us in unique ways, and then our adversities become our advantage. And I've seen it happen in life where my adversities become other people's advantage. So those are great feelings when you get to go there.
Let me ask you this. What brings you the most joy today and how you're helping others? What is it that you're doing that's bringing you the most joy?
Yeah. So now the speaking is great. I love it how you can just share one sentence from your life and it can cause somebody else to rewrite their own. Like, such a powerful thing. The coaching is also evolving into life coaching. Funny thing is that when we were just full out with the franchise before the pandemic, I wasn't coaching very much at all. I was thinking that I was just going to be becoming this business guy, and I wasn't going to have much coaching in my life. And now I've gotten back to coaching clients and connecting with them on that level. So what's bringing me the most joy is helping others overcome adversity, whether it be adversities on the gym floor, whether it be through life coaching. We're going to be launching a podcast that's actually launching this coming week. The first episode is coming out. It's called the Overcomers Podcast. But what I want to do is I not only want to share my adversity with others, but I want to get other people who have overcome adversity and share that, because we all need to hear these stories and be reminded that there is something on the other side, right? That we can endure and get to the other side. So what's bringing me the most joy is anytime in any way that I get the opportunity to do that, whether it be through sharing my story, speaking, writing, coaching, life coaching, all those things.
Travis, it seems right now that there's a lot of kids and a lot of parents, pretty much everyone is facing some form of adversity. If you are a parent who has a kid who is facing adversity, I don't care if it's drugs, alcohol, doing the wrong things, empty right now, What wisdom would you share as a father and as someone who has faced a lot of adversity that parent could share with their kid to give that young man or woman some hope and inspiration?
Yeah, well, it's such a tough time. I actually had my own parental struggles, and it's been a real challenge,
Mm,
because I think that as parents, our first thing to do is just get so frustrated and angry with our kids because they're acting in a way that we don't approve of. And in the process of life coaching, I really learned to look at the emotional needs. I really learned to look at, like, my daughter's anger that she sometimes has is maybe her need for significance, or her depression that she has as her need for love and connection. And TD, you do such a wonderful job of letting love. I think Danny Still wrote a book about this, but it was about keeping your love on, I think it was. But the idea is letting that love connection between you and your child be the thing that keeps them the most accountable. Because I've tried point systems, I've tried it all. There's so many things, but to just try to have that loving connection where they don't want to let you down, be that biggest driving force for them. So, you have to connect with them. You have to
mm.
love them through it. I love my daughter unconditionally. I know that we're in two different places right
She's
now.
17, right?
No, she's a little older. She just turned 19 now.
Is she
19.
19?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, 19.
Oh, so you really have your hands full then.
Yeah, right, right, right. Because she's like, I'm an adult, and I'm like, but you got to start thinking different, And but here's the thing. Despite the fact that she is at that stage where I once was when I was 19, right? So that's
Mm,
what she is, and it's tough for me to tell her, no, I want you to be 43, like I am now, I mean, that doesn't quite compute to her yet. So what I do is I just love her through it. I love her
amen.
through it,
Amen.
and
Amen.
just keep on being there for her and keep on letting her know that there is this lighthouse, that when she's out there in that storm, that she can always keep on coming back home, that she can always call on us, and that we love her and that we will never stop loving
Man.
her. That heart to heart connection is something that every parent should strive for. And that when we're tempted to do things that might cause us to lose it, we have to search for the emotional needs. What's going on right now? Are they acting out in such a way to feel this significance, to feel this love and connection? Like, are they just searching for some sort of certainty or variety, or, what do they want out of this situation that's making them act that way? And then just trying to,
Yeah.
get them the help that they need while loving them through it.
Yeah, truth, truth. And I can't believe she's 19. I feel like I met her. It was like she was a little girl and she's all
Oh
19
yeah,
now. That's
yeah.
crazy. Here's the deal. If you're a parent out there, you realize that every kid has struggles these days. I don't care how much people got it together or not. In today's crazy times with the pandemic, homeschooling, no sports in a lot of places, kids are struggling. So it requires us parents to be even more on our A game. And, whether you're a person of faith or not, I know for me, my faith has to be dialed in because patience is certainly being tested on a regular basis, and you got to pour your heart and soul into these kids, all kids. If you're a coach like I am, for football. Or at Fitness Quest 10, it's these kids need hope. They need to. There's a lot of times right now there's no end game. They don't even know when there's going to be a season, if there's going to be a season. So it's like, why are we training? Why are we doing what we're doing? And they're struggling and picking up bad habits. So parents, just a little voice of encouragement for you. Thank you for what you're doing. We all know this. There's no more important job than parenting. And sometimes you do your darndest and it still doesn't feel like enough. But you know what it is? It's you're doing your best. And when you can rely on your faith and you're getting out and taking care of yourself, you pour love. That child may not see or feel that love for another 5 years or 10 years, but someday they'll look back and say, thank you, mom. Thank you, dad, for loving me when it didn't seem like the world was loving me so much. So Travis, thank you for what you're doing. I know you're a wonderful father. I've seen you. We've had a lot of heart-to-heart talks over the years from fellow fathers, just talking about parenting, and it is the hardest role.
I do my best. And if I could add one more thing to it, when I was in prison, I spoke in several different programs: Life of Crime, Scared Straight, Reaching Out to
Mm,
Provide Enlightenment. And just to add to what I was already saying, the times where I saw kids make a turn, they had maybe been court ordered to be in a courtroom with their parents. And what kids sometimes have a hard time seeing, that in their rebellious behavior, the people that they do love the most, they do love you, moms and dads. But what they don't understand is that they're the ones that are hurting you the most. The most pivotal moments that I ever saw where I felt like, this is where my speaking career began, by the way, was in handcuffs and shackles, and I'd be out there talking to a courtroom. Thank you, Patty Kitchen, for that job. But she came to my cell and said, would you like to speak in the life of crime? And I'm playing chess at the time with my cellmate. And I'm like, well, I think he can do without me, whatever night that is. I don't have too many appointments right now. But when I got that opportunity, I saw kids sometimes turn and really even break down and cry and apologize to their parents, because they would actually have that epiphany. Like, they would be asked, let me ask you, if someone was trying to hurt your mother, would you stop them? Well, of course. Well, you're the one hurting her the most. What are you going to do about it? And that's just so powerful for a kid to kind of wrap their mind around. So I guess if I could just add anything, moms and dads, keep on showing them your heart. And as you show them your heart, maybe they will learn to want to protect it more.
So let me ask you this. If you were a kid listening to this, you were basically a kid who went to prison. I mean, I'm calling a 19, 20-year-old still a kid because really they think they're grown up, but they haven't even experienced life yet. If you're a kid listening to this, what wisdom could you offer a young man or woman these days in order to how to treat their parents and how to get by in this difficult time?
Yeah, I think that what we have to do is that we have to wrap our mind around that our actions are not our own. You think that you're living a life that is just only affecting you. And that's just not real world thinking. It just shows that we're immature in our thinking, and that we really need to kind of grow up in that thinking, because our actions do affect other people, and they affect, they have the most impact. We'll use your word, TD, the most impact on those that we love the most. And so how are you impacting those people? And what are you willing to do? You say that you love them. You say you love those parents. You say you love your mom. You say you love your dad. Well, this is where the rubber meets the road. I know all these kids, they got this, I'll ride or die, and I'm this and I'm that. Okay, great. Well, will you ride or die for your parents? Will you ride or die to protect them? And if so, what changes do you have to make in order to live up to that? In order to live up to that man or woman that you say that you are, willing to protect your parents, so that to me is an important challenge. And that to me takes growth. Like, you're going to have to grow in your thinking if you think it's just all about you. Because if you're choosing to use drugs, if you're choosing to do certain things that could cost you your life, drinking and driving, all those kind of things, I'll tell you what, do you want to picture your parents for the rest of their lives, brokenhearted, just not even able to function because they're just so depressed and so sad that they don't even know how to wake up in the morning and move out of their beds because of what's happened to them? That's the kind of devastation that parents go through over actions that kids thought were only affecting them, you know?
Yeah. Well, I know you're speaking to a lot of kids, so keep doing what you're doing. I think I've had a record number of parents in the last several months reach out to me to talk to their kids. And I think that's just because of where we're at in our times. But I want to just pour life into the kids today and let them know it ain't easy. I get it. We just got to keep persisting. We got to keep enduring. We got to keep moving forward. We got to keep working out and training and hanging out with the right crowds. All of these things that we preach all the time. Now is the time that we got to amp up our games. Kids, adults, it doesn't matter who you are, athletes, executives, leaders, fire-breathing dragons, mind-right maniacs. We're in the middle of a fight right now. And it's going to be, we got to endure. And Travis, man, I thank you for what you're doing for not only the kids, but the Journey 333 community, man, I want to shift gears.
You mentioned what a young person I was when I went to prison. And I'll just leave you on this note. TD wasn't one of those folks that I was hanging out with that ever came and visited me in prison. Not put money on my books. Who was there? Mom in tears, wondering where she went wrong. Of course, my wife and things like that. But the people I got in trouble with, the people I used drugs with, they were never there. Yeah. So just so you know, misery loves company. But when you get real miserable and stuck in jail, that company ain't coming for you. They'll just find somebody else.
True. So, hey, I want to switch gears because I want to talk about someone that I have studied extensively, worked with extensively. I consider a mentor and someone I introduced to you a few years back. This guy, his name is Dr. Wayne Dyer. And you have in the last, I'll just say year, you have really studied Wayne immensely. And I got introduced him by my sister Patty probably a dozen years ago, maybe more, and have read all his books, listened to his podcast, the whole 9 yards. But if there's 2 or 3 lessons that you could share from your immersion in the last year or so from Dr. Wayne Dyer, who I would consider a spiritual healer, what would be a couple of those lessons, Travis?
Yeah. So TD, thank you, first of all, for, just, what you do, man. You're a great mentor, you're a great leader. And yeah, you're always introducing me to books, but the most life-changing book that you ever introduced me to was one by Wayne Dyer. And from there, I think I'm probably, at least 10 more books into him, but that was Manifest Your Destiny that you introduced me to. And Wayne Dyer has changed my relationship with God and my relationship with myself. And I remember I was listening to The Shift by Wayne Dyer when he described the God that we create. Like, we create like this dead, bearded, white male that floats around heaven like a cosmic bellboy that's temperamental. He might answer our prayers if he feels like it. And what we've done is we've given like these human traits to God, like where we need to somehow give him indulgences. We think that he needs to be avenged, we treat him like a human king, maybe, that sometimes if he's in a good mood, he might give you what you want or whatever. And that's just not who God is, right? This source of love, this divine creation, this divine spirit that we're all part of, that's what God is. And man, I needed that right at the right time, the right people coming into your life, giving you the right things. TD, during this pandemic, I had no idea what was going to happen. It's all been tough on all of us, but I went for routine blood work after I was getting into Wayne Dyer, and my blood work said I might have a mass on my brain, that I might have way too much iron buildup in my body that could give me cirrhosis of the liver. And I'm like going for scans, and I needed that, because if I was still stuck in that old relationship with God, I would have been like, oh man, I wonder if I've done enough to get in,
Right.
Is he going to give me the right blessing, this cosmic bellboy, So I'm glad that I've been able to dive into that and just really understand that, God is love and that he is forgiveness, and that we all share that little piece. I never thought of God that way, because I was actually always stuck in the ego. Like I say, it's changed my relationship with myself, because here's a little quote by T.S. Eliot. I think it's really good. He says, "We shall not cease from exploration, but at the end of our exploring, we will return to the place where we first started and know it for the first time." You see, we go through life, and what we think is that we are what we've accomplished. Or here's one for the pandemic: we are what we have, right? Like prior to the pandemic, I bet you that there's a lot of listeners that had a lot more than what they have right now. Maybe a lot more members, a lot more money, a lot more things, right? And so we tell ourselves that we are what we have, and that's just ego. Wayne Dyer likes to say that ego stands for edging God out, right? Like, we're just all independent. And here's a good question to ask yourself. If all we are is what we have, then what happens when we lose what we have? Do we lose who we are? Right. So like, that was such an important thing for me to grasp, that I learned from Wayne Dyer. So we're not our accomplishments. We're not what we do. We're not all that we have, those kind of things. And we're not separate. Right. I used to think that it was good to be separate. I used to think, well, if I wind up being the idea leader of the year, I was in the final 3 a couple of years ago. I'm like, that's just going to make me who I am. Right. That's not true at all. Right. Who I am, the unchangeable part of me. Wayne Dyer says this too. He provides in one of his books the definition of real. That is real, which does not change. And so what he's good to point out is that our bodies are always changing, right? And this is about how we're going to go back to the, place, right? He says, go grab your 15-year-old body. I know that when your knees were bothering you, you wish you could go grab your 15-year-old body, right?
Man, do I ever.
Yeah, right? But our bodies are ever changing. So what doesn't change? What doesn't change is that spirit, right? That spirit, when you're inspired, you're in spirit. When you can feel enthusiasm, that whole idea of in and asm is that God within. So it was interesting that I could go to prison to rediscover my passion for fitness, that I could go through a pandemic and some health challenges, which, by the way, folks, it did work out good on the other side, maybe from the power of positive.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, right? Don't have a mass on my brain or cirrhosis in my liver, but It's amazing how long from the time that you think you might have these things that you have to go through a couple months of testing to find out that you don't. So that was a scary couple months and a good time for me to be in touch with who I am and just being able to return to that place of knowing where am I feeling inspired right now? I feel inspired when I help people overcome adversity. I'm in line with my purpose, right? You know, our purpose is to be kind to one another, to understand that we're not separate. Boy, these are scary times, aren't they? Scary, politically divided, racially divided. You know, I'm just a spiritual being going through a human experience. I'm not a white guy, a black guy, a Democrat, a Republican. I'm not divided. I'm understanding that there's a whole lot more depth to me, this divine creation that I was created to be. And I'm looking for the inspiration. I'm listening to the whispers, as you would say. And I owe it to not only your teachings, but thank you for turning me on to some of those teachings of Wayne Dyer. And it allowed me to be at peace at a time in my life where I'm like, what if this, you always ask us in these masterminds, you're like, what would you do if this was the last year on earth, you know, your last year on earth? And I was thinking to myself, when you said it this year, I'm like, what if it is my last year on earth? You know, like,
It's a good question. It's a good question.
It really is. It really is. And are you living your authentic self? Do you feel inspired with what you're doing? Can you feel the enthusiasm of it? Are the things that you're doing in life the things that you know that you were created to do? I mean, I was actually, as a franchisor and trying to accomplish so much, I was actually a human doing instead of a human being, right? I was just doing. And I realized that some of those things I was doing, I gave an example at a mastermind retreat a while back that I was, one of the ways that I felt like I was in spirit was that I took time to paint my mother's house myself. But that was because I just didn't want to be a human doing. I wanted to be a human being, right? I wanted to make a difference.
Yeah,
every day, you know, give somebody your smile. If you're in the store and you spot the flowers on the way home and you're like, geez, my wife or somebody might like those, take them to them, right? You know, I mean, I'm just saying, just be in that spirit where you can feel the inspiration of what it really means to honor one another in that way.
I just love hearing the Wayne Dyer in you, brother. You've come a long way in a year and your soul and spirit is on fire. And as a matter of fact, as people are working out right now, I can hear them right now saying, Travis, can you please repeat that quote again about, you know, you not are who you are unless you do. What is that quote again? Because they're going to be asking me and DMing me, what was that great quote? Because that was a highlight. What was that quote?
Oh, thanks, TD. Yeah. So that's part of the ego. One of the definitions of ego is that we are what we have. So here's a challenging question that we have to ask ourselves. If all we are is what we have, then when we lose what we have, we lose who we are, right? So we have to decide that we're so much more than what we have, right? Yep. Holy smokes. I mean, I had one of those new 2020 Supras before the pandemic. You know, I was thinking that's who I was. I'm like, look at me in this hot rod, you know, right?
Folks, right now, take out your phone because I know you're in the note section writing that quote down. Take a picture of this timestamp on the podcast episode and be sure to make sure that you actually tag Travis in your Instagram story so that you could be like, wow, that was a great quote. Wayne Dyer, Travis Barnes right there, dropping some bombs right there. So good stuff, Travis.
Thank you. Thank you, TD. Such an important lesson for all of us to realize, hey, we're not what we do. If something happens where you have to change what you do, that's not who you are. You're not what you've accomplished. You're not what you have. And you're not separate. You're not separate. You know, we're all spiritual beings. We're all kindred spirits. We're all in this together. We're all part of that whole. Very good.
Hey, Travis, I know here in 2021, you're speaking a lot, both virtually. You hope to get back on the platform. We go going live again. You got your podcast coming out here in mid-January, the Overcomer podcast. I do want to just talk for a moment about Journey 333. There's a lot of fit pros or people who attend different studios and gyms, boxes across the entire world who do listen in. And for you, what does Journey 333 look like in 2021?
Yeah, so the pandemic's changed us a lot. It's changed us in some very positive ways. You know, you find what you look for, right? You know, we've looked for the good. We've looked for good opportunities. You know, we haven't looked to be victims. We've looked to be victors during this time. And so for us, of course, like many of you, you know, we now have our own social distancing parameters. You know, we have our own sanitation, but we used to be exclusively group. Now we offer one-on-one. We offer semi-private options. I feel that we're doing virtual in a very good way. I've been on other virtual platforms that don't include the integration of, music and microphones the way that we do, or even have the branding backdrops and things such as that. So we have virtual options because people need them. And those virtual options, we actually needed them before. Imagine this, Fit Pros. Think about this for a second. All right. So how often have you heard your members say, I'm going to be going on vacation, or I'm a snowbird, so I'm going away for 6 months and I need to freeze. Now you can say, if you have a virtual option, you can say, well, take me with you.
Yep.
So, isn't that great?
Plus, in New York and Pennsylvania right now, how cold is it there today?
Oh, man.
What's the temperature?
I think about 20 degrees.
Okay, 20 degrees. But just so you know, I don't want to make you feel bad, but it is 80 degrees in San Diego today.
Right,
We can only train outdoors. It's not that big of a deal for us to have to train outdoors. But if you're in 20-degree weather, not everyone wants to go out into the ice and the snow in 20-degree weather. So the fact that you guys have pivoted so miraculously in a matter of weeks, I remember even back in April, the amazing job that you were doing figuring out on the fly on that stuff. And you'll continue that in 2021. What else in 2021 does Journey 333 look like?
What I've learned in this process of returning to my authentic self is I'm actually searching. I will continue to franchise, but in a very quality way. We might grow franchisees from within. If I find quality relationships through speaking or life coaching or just different referral processes where, you can really connect with somebody and understand that you have a kindred spirit on your hands. Like I say, prior to the pandemic, we were getting the Journey bus. I had Overcomers podcast, which was supposed to come out back in the start of the pandemic, but we got focused on other things.
You wouldn't have overcome the pandemic if it happened then.
Right. So we had
everything else. Yep.
Right. We had the podcast on one side, we had franchise on the other, and that's what we thought we were going to do. But back then, the theory was, we're going to have about 40 leads come in, and we'll get one conversion, and it was like very businessy. But now, being where I am at this space in my life of just really wanting to live an authentic life where I can feel inspired, I definitely don't want to, have 40 conversations to get to one person. I want to find that one person in a quality way. So we will continue to franchise. We will continue to try to lead our industry. We have tried to do things through Filex and Perform Better this year, and SCW. We've been on there presenting to share all the different things that we could as early as we could.
Yeah.
Because like I say, I think I went into my gym like you, and I felt a little bit like a gym whisperer. I was trying to listen to the whispers. I wasn't waiting for them to come out and say, you need nanoseptic technology on your doors. I started trying to think, how can I make these hands-free or self-cleaning surfaces, or what needs to be hands-free? So I started going over my own mind, everything that people touch and share.
Right.
And, those are the things that we want to do. We want to continue to lead our industry. We want to bring, Richard Branson said when he started Virgin Airlines that he wanted to bring back a touch of class to an industry that in some cases had lost it in different places. And what we've always felt that we've done at Journey 333 is put the personal in group training. In fact, we kind of coined the phrase group personal training, right? Because at Journey, I don't care if there's 30 people in a session, that coach knows every name. That coach knows who's got a birthday in the house, who's got an anniversary in the house, who just hit 20 pounds of weight loss. Yep. We're still weighing people in weekly. We're tracking the results every 6 weeks. It's included to help them with nutrition. So Journey 333 has a model that I think that we'll still see some, good amount of people that want to attend group, but we've managed to put the personal and group training, and we intend to lead the industry in that way.
And Travis, as you try to attract the right person, it sounds like, who is that right person? Like when you look at a franchisee, what is that person looking for typically?
Yeah, so we have 4 core values, and I think that the core values have to be aligned. I think that's very important. They have to be all in. During these times, you got to have wit. That means you got to be willing to do whatever it takes.
Yes.
I'm down here in Florida, willing to do whatever it takes. They got to be a community builder. Over the years, I wasn't as good at hiring early on as I feel I've gotten a little bit better, but I've actually hired people that didn't want to be around people. Like they have to love people. If they have a heart for helping others, we're looking for overcomers. This company was started by overcomers. And so we're looking for other people that are overcoming their adversities and want to live their dreams. Clearly I am not a person to really scrutinize the backgrounds. If you're an overcomer, if you're on the right page, if you love people, if you're ready to build a community, if you're passionate about fitness and changing lives, those are the people that we're looking for. Those are the profiles. And those are the ones that we know because they got that wit. They're ready to be all in. That those are the ones that we can really build something with.
Well, I've seen your systems, and you've been a systems guy since the day I've known you. I don't think there's anyone else in the entire industry that I know has better systems than you and Journey 333. So I know from a franchise perspective, you guys are buttoned up. And I love that you're bringing the spirit and soul into it, the fitness side as well. And I think in 2021, that's going to be very, very important for anyone. It doesn't matter what studio, club, or gym that you work for or you own. So much of the soul and the spirit is going to drive the culture. And I know that you have created one heck of a culture, Travis. And I just say thank you for what you're doing, man. Truly special.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. TD, it's all about love. You got to love people. And, I say, love them so much that you take them places that they couldn't get to on their own.
Woo!
And that's the idea, right? We have an MIA program, like many of the listeners on this call, but if they've been missing for too long, and that's really just a matter of days, we're not talking weeks or months, that we're tracking them down.
Yeah.
And people need that kind of love. We don't track them down like, I'm going to get you, sucker. You got to come to the gym. We track them down like, hey, man, you got goals and you made me a partner in the process. And I want to get you back in the gym. And that's just got to be part of the culture. It's got to be part of that to just over deliver.
So Travis closes down here with like what I call the 2-minute drill. A 2-minute drill in football is, man, the 2-minute drill is you got to hurry up and you got to inspire. You got to make magic happen. You're going to have the platform for 2 minutes to motivate and inspire these people like you've never had before. You've got the platform on stage, and someone listening into this wants to be an overcomer. They're facing adversity, they're facing challenge, and you need to impart some hope, motivation, inspiration in them. So you're going to have the microphone for up to 2 minutes.
Man,
so
right, you're about to
some life into us, brother. What you got? Here you go. What do you got?
All right. Well, the first thing that I want to tell you guys is that no matter what you're going through, I get you. I get you, right? Whether it's relationship struggles, if it's struggles with the kids, struggles with the business, incarceration, addiction, whatever it is, I get you. So we're in this together. You're not separate. We're on the same journey. The next thing that I want to tell you guys is that if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, right? So what does that mean? What does that mean? That means that we have to look for the good. How has this pandemic made you better? What are the opportunities, not the obstacles, see the opportunities, because there are opportunities. Hey, just think, 10 months ago, we were handing off sweaty equipment to each other thinking that was a cool idea, right? I mean, we're better in so many ways, and you're stronger. This obstacle that you've been going through has been introducing you to yourself. I want you to, as TD likes to say, live inspired, but I want you to understand it in a new way. Wayne Dyer likes to say that to be inspired is to be in spirit. So when you feel that spirit, know that you're still on track. You might now, if it's Fit Pros listening in, you might have half or a third of the members that you used to have. But when you can feel that spirit still of what it's like to just love somebody enough to take them places that they couldn't get to on their own, then you're doing what you were meant to do. You were doing what you were created to do. So I thank you.
Preach it.
Thank you, guys. I thank you for being with me on this journey, Journey 333, right? It's a mind, body, spirit kind of thing. I thank you guys for being with me. And I am honored to call myself your colleague and be in this with you. So guys, reach out to me because I am your brother and I am in this with you.
Whoa, I'm about to run through a wall right now. 2-minute drill. We just stuffed the ball in the end zone and got the big dub, baby. Wow. Thank you, Travis. Thank you. Folks, that was some pure fire right there, Travis was offering. Travis, if someone wants to follow you, they want to get a hold of you, they want to talk more about some of the adversity you've overcome, or they know someone who's facing some adversity and your path, your journey that you've been on, they believe is going to help them or their child or the mom or dad, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I now have a site, travisbarnespeaks.com, and it links back to all kinds of different things, ways to contact me, the podcast, different things. So if you go to travisbarnespeaks.com, you can learn a lot right there. But you can also reach out to me at travis@journeyfitnesscoaching.com. That's my email. That's travis@journeyfitnesscoaching.com. If you send me an email, I will answer. And when I answer, my cell phone will be at the bottom of that email signature, so you can even call if you need me.
There you have it, guys. I'll put all of that in the show notes. So if you didn't catch all of it, it'll be in the show notes. Travis Barnes, thank you for what you do. You talk about live a life worth telling a story about, brother. You certainly are living a life worth telling a story about. Thanks, Travis.
Thank you, TD.
Wow. What an episode with Travis Barnes. I encourage you to follow Travis. He is doing amazing things. And when I talk about built for winter and being prepared for winter, folks, I just want to pour life into you, knowing that right now that we must keep moving forward. We talk about one step at a time moving forward, getting knocked down and getting back up again. Right now is a time to continue to endure. Know that the spring is coming. The green, the birds chirping is coming. We're going to have some light coming. It's going to take right now, making sure that we're buckling down the hatches and that we're prepared for this time. My friends, thank you so much. How do you do that? You keep your mind right. You always hear me talk about get your mind right, get your mind right, get your mind right. Continue to read good books. Continue to listen to the Todd Durkin Impact Show podcast. Continue to surround yourself with other fire-breathing dragons, other mind right maniacs who are going to help you get your mind right. And then whatever it takes, whatever it takes, you do what you got to do. So thank you for joining me. And until next time, remember, train hard, eat right, live inspired, and go create impact, baby. Folks, one more message before we take off and get ready to rock and roll throughout the day. Now that y'all fired up, if you would like some more personal growth and development, I would love the opportunity to coach you in my mastermind group. Guys like Travis Barnes, I've been coaching for 8 years now in the mastermind group. We've got some incredible fire-breathing dragons, fitness pros who are passionate, inspired, and looking to create maximum impact. If you would like the opportunity for me to coach you in your business, your leadership, and your personal growth and development, I would love that opportunity. Hop over to ToddDurkinMastermind.com. That's ToddDurkinMastermind.com, and I can't wait to coach you to the next level, baby. Yoo-hoo! Yeah, me. I haven't left you quite yet. As a matter of fact, you're sticking around for a reason. You know why? There's another level. There's never a crowd on the extra mile. Right now, it's the extra mile. If you would like some coaching to get to the next level, that extra mile in business and leadership, in training, in nutrition, in mindset, and in your spiritual growth, I would love the opportunity to coach you. Starting on February 8th, 2021, February 8th, 2021, my impact coaching starts all over again. 8 weeks. 8 weeks. This is my first group of 2021 where I pour into a group of up to 12, the dirty dozen people who want to get to the next level in business, leadership, and life. If that's you, regardless of your career or your occupation, if you're seeking and searching for more, I would love the opportunity to coach you. Check it all out at ToddDurkin.com, ToddDurkin.com, and that is going to promise you to get some more impact in your life, baby. I'll see you there.